They call Connecticut the basketball capital of the world for a reason. In stores, the University of Connecticut has won 17 national championships between its men's and women's basketball programs. But others across the state have done some good work as well. Fairfield University's women's team won 28 games this season to be crowned MAC champions and are going to the NCAA tournament for a second consecutive season. The Yale Bulldogs men's basketball team, Ivy League champions, are going to March Madness as well. In fact, 4 teams from our lovely state are going to the Big Dance. As we did last year, let's take a look at all of the Connecticut teams rolling their way to March Madness and what fans should expect from them in the coming days and hopefully weeks. Beforehand, it's great to note that many teams from Connecticut that didn't make it had a reasonable shot of getting there. Sacred Heart men's basketball lost in the quarterfinal of its conference tournament, coming just a few wins away from the tournament. In even more heartbreaking fashion, Central Connecticut came just short, losing in the conference championship game. Had they won that, they would have qualified for the tournament as well. With that out of the way, we begin with Yale University's men's basketball team, who's going to the NCAA tournament for a second straight season. And just like last season, they are a 13th seed set to face a 4th seed. This year, it's Texas A&M. Yale won their games this season by an average of 11.9 points, the 17th largest point differential in the country. Like last season, John Plakadis leads the way for the Bulldogs, averaging 19 points per game. Plakadis, a senior from Naperville, Illinois, scored 25 points to close out Yale's Ivy League championship game, where they won 90-84 over Cornell. Bez Bang, that has a ring to it, contributed on both sides of the ball, and 6'7" forward Nick Townsend is the definition of consistency, averaging 15 points per game, though only had 2 games all season with a single-digit point total. For context, he played 29 games throughout this season. Winning 16 of its final 17 games, the Bulldogs faced the Aggies, hoping to pull off another upset in the NCAA tournament. Last year, the 13th-seeded Yale defeated 4th-seeded Auburn 78-76 in its second NCAA tournament victory since 1963. The Bulldogs now look for win number 3 in the Big Dance since 1963. Their tournament tips off for them later tonight on TBS at 7:25 p.m. Eastern. With 11 national championships hung up in head coach Gino Ariela's office, it's clear that the UConn Huskies women's basketball program always poses a threat in the NCAA tournament. Once again, the Huskies are one of the top teams in the country, with a resume that speaks for itself. UConn won 6 games this season against teams who ranked top 25 nationally, which included defeating the reigning champion South Carolina Gamecocks by 29 points just about a month ago. Paige Beckers, one of the best players in the country, is a dynamic offensive playmaker, never failing to set up her teammates for success, or do it all herself. In her 5th and final season with the Huskies, Beckers was selected as an All-American, representing that she's one of the top guards in the sport. And because of her All-American status, many believe she is a candidate to contend for National Player of the Year, an award she won alongside an ESPY for Best Female Collegiate Athlete in 2021. But freshman Sarah Strong, a nominee for the Best Freshman of the Year award, and AZ Fudd have all contributed to the efforts from the 31-win Huskies. However, with 3 losses against top-rated schools, can the Huskies push over the hump in their final season with Beckers? Because despite how prolific she's been, she's still looking for her first national championship. Rated the top team in the country by net rating, UConn is ready for another stellar run with the hope to capture the school's first title since 2016. The journey begins for Connecticut on Saturday when they face 15th-seeded Arkansas State. For a second straight season, the Fairfield University Stags women's basketball team is returning to the NCAA tournament after a 28-win regular season and just 1 loss against conference opponents that make Fairfield a scary dark horse to win a few games in the tournament. Head coach Carly Thibault-Dedonis, in her 3rd season with Fairfield, has worked miracles turning this program into one of the most prolific mid-majors in the sport, and she's done it with her back against the wall. Fairfield's consensus top star and the reigning player of the year in the MAC Conference, Janelle Brown, suffered a season-ending knee injury back in December, and yet Fairfield has won 22 of its last 24 games since she's been out for the season. Megan Anderson, who can score from all areas of the floor, has been exceptional. Katie Lamoureux is a do-it-all threat on both sides of the floor, and the Stags roll with 9 or 10 players on any given night that make them a dangerous team to contend with. This season, among all teams in the country, Fairfield ranked 6th in assist differential and 12th in point differential this past regular season. The problem? Their first-round opponent, the Kansas State Wildcats, are just as potent, ranking 7th on that list after finishing 4th in the prolific Big 12 Conference. And for the first time in months, Fairfield is an underdog heading into its first-round game. But after just 1 loss to its MAC opponents in 2 years, we've learned that the Stags like defying the odds and proving doubters wrong. The Stags face the Wildcats tomorrow at 2:30 p.m. Eastern on ESPN News. And last but not least, we conclude with the UConn Huskies men's basketball team, entering the tournament looking to inscribe its name in the record books. After winning the past 2 national championships and winning each tournament game by double-digit points, the Huskies are chasing 3 in a row, which hasn't been done by a collegiate men's basketball team since UCLA in the 1970s. However, unlike in the previous 2 seasons, UConn has had more hiccups this year than many analysts expected. The Huskies lost 3 games in a row in a tournament in Hawaii back in November, a stretch that carried into its conference play. UConn is now an 8th seed after ranking as the top team in the country last year, and many find head coach Dan Hurley's group in jeopardy of falling out in the first round of the NCAA tournament. 2-time national title winner Alex Caravan is leading the way, while freshman Liam McNeely and sophomore Solomon Ball are 2 of the most fantastic offensive creators in the country. McNeely is projected to be a top pick in the NBA draft this coming June. However, the Huskies still will have to work by the curveballs that come in March Madness, and many fans have to expect that UConn won't run roughshod throughout the tournament as it did in the previous 2 years. While many don't view them as a potent contender, remember, the Huskies are the champs until someone says otherwise. And now in the tournament, UConn is back where it thrives most as one of the most successful postseason programs in college basketball history. The Huskies tip off with 9th-seeded Oklahoma in the first round tomorrow night at 9:25 p.m. Eastern. Ian Eagle, one of the most accomplished sportscasters in history, enthusiastically shared 4 tournaments ago, "It's March, expect the unexpected," a line that has resonated with me ever since. We have entered the month of madness, and maybe a month of prosperity for the aforementioned teams in the state of Connecticut. Signing off, I'm Chase Coburn from Fairfield Woods Middle School.